You ready? Count of 3,
2,
1.
1.
Okay. Well, hello and welcome to the Floating Memory Podcast. We are your host, Kinship.
And BlankGinger.
So it's been a minute. We're back from Ascent.
Mm-hmm.
Did maybe not so good at that. We had one member, Ash, that nearly made it into the top 32. Got to his last match, so shout out to him. Picked up these nice beanies.
That's right.
Not really a hat wearer, but this appears to be the meta for content creators coming back from Ascent, so had to get that on. So what do we have today?
A lower count of cards, not as many as the last couple episodes, but we're looking at some fun ones that haven't seen some play as much yet.
So. Yeah, so the focus for today, rather than saying cards that might be good in the future, these are cards we think you really might just want to be playing now, along with a couple that could potentially grow in value.
That's right. So we got a few to go through. Let's start off with water. I got a couple for you. The first one, we have Freeze Stiff, which is a 3-cost fast mage spell action. Rest up to 2 target allies if either of those allies are attacking in the combat phase. Class bonus, those allies don't wake up during their controller's next wake up phase.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of really good points there that are being overlooked. First off, I did not see a lot of ally-based decks coming out in FTC early on. Right. Clearly, True Champion Gaming has changed that after Ascent, so if you're needing to shut down allies, especially in this way where they remain tapped, I think that'll be good. What's that second part, though?
The second sentence, the second line says, if either of those allies are attacking in the combat phase. And that is a very powerful ability that we haven't seen too much of yet. But there's a lot of things that actually gain benefit from getting either on attack triggers or that gain from being played in the attack phase, like certain cards at fast speed. Whenever it says in the combat phase, all of those things just go away. So if there's any cards that are being played, those are removed from the effect stack. Any effects that are on the effect stack get removed and are just done. And you're just moved back to the main phase instantly. So that type of powerful effect can stop a lot of very strong abilities.
Yep. So in this way, like we said, that first part, getting rid of the allies, very applicable now. The second part, I think that'll only get better as we move in, and there are more maybe combat tricks that people want to try and put out that you can just go, no. And this is very modal for that.
Absolutely. And on top of that, you get to stop 2 things from attacking that turn. So they go to attack with their first thing, say it's a hasty messenger, and they go, I'm going to discard a card. You say, no, I'm going to stop the combat phase. I'm going to make sure that does not wake up, as well as your other ally that you have out, say it's another hasty or something that they were going to get double effect out of. Now they get no effect out of any of them. So I feel that can be very, very strong.
Yeah, thanks to the magic of Sylvie V2 beta coming out, we now also have percentages for these cards. So Free Stiff only sitting at 4.1%. None of the water really goes above 10 right now because there is just so many different strategies in water that people are experimenting with. But this is definitely one that should be going up.
I completely agree, especially if it's in Mage and you get that extra don't wake up in the next phase. If there's some major water control mage spells out there that can be.
I want to see Watermerlin's brewing.
That's right, Watermerlin or even Water Rye or whatever.
Yep.
The next water card that we have is going to be Stillwater Patrol. This is a 4-cost 2/3 ally ranger human. It has True Sight, and as long as Stillwater Patrol is attacking a unit with stealth, it gets +1 to its attack. This one, I think, is going to start seeing play soon if water comes to prevalence anytime soon anyways, just because this is already a strong stat line on an ally. It is 4 cost, but 3 health is very, very strong. And on top of that, having True Sight, very relevant right now and going to be more relevant in the future, I think.
Yep. And we've seen a lot of 2/3 or even 1/3 is getting played. Lurking Assailant is obviously getting played, even really regardless of its ability to retaliate, just because that is a great stat line. It is 4 cost, but the ability to potentially be a 3/3 that gets around Dream Fairy getting Fab wins, which is huge.
Right. So. And not only that, it kills any stealth unit, especially some of the other stealth units that are
lurking assailant again. We'll kill that even if it stood up.
If only it doesn't retaliate. Because there's an interesting interaction with that one. But basically, any other stealth unit though.
Yeah.
Like most stealth units don't have a lot of health because they have stealth, so you're not going to attack into it. But a lot of these allies can fall pretty easily to still water patrol, especially any of the fairies or maybe some of the other like lower end like Kingdom Informant, things like that. So Stillwater Patrol is only seeing 1.6% play right now,
too low,
which is way too low. I think in Mordred even. Water Mordred, Water Lorraine, this should be seeing a little bit more play, especially since some of the top decks are running things like Dream Fairy in it. This just takes them out quickly, cleanly, easy.
Yeah, and Water doesn't have too much of a hard time holding up cards in hand, especially after the first turn. So I think the cost is maybe a little bit less bad than it seems as well.
Exactly. All right, let's shift over to Wind. What do you got over there?
All right, so on the Wind side, up first is the Trained Hawk. That is 3-cost animal with True Sight and Vigor. That is a 2/2. So the utility I see out of this card, one, I've mentioned the Dream Fairy. This can take out the Dream Fairy, obviously not through the Fab Winds, but potentially in Sylvie, getting that buff counter, you can still do that. I think having the Vigor and True Sight with the 2/2 for 3 is just very scary. This can put some extra damage down if they decide to sweep because it wakes up. This isn't class bonus. So it starts that. Right. So anything they want to throw in that can't survive a hit from 2 won't be killing this. And so this thing's like a lot stickier than you'd think, especially with how many cards Wind has to keep it alive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention was like whenever you're, if you're swinging into something, they may have Fab Winds, but if they're trying to kill the Hawk, you can play Fab Winds and then still retaliate. Yep. So that can be very, very powerful with the combinations you have available in Wind. Train Hawk's only sitting at 7.1%. play rate right now. I know there's a lot of Wind decks out there that are trying a lot of different things, but at the same time, Trained Hawk could almost slot into a lot of these already.
Yeah. And Trained Hawk, it looked like was in a lot of Sylvie decks, but starting to pick up speed to go into Lorraine decks. I think this is totally fine in Lorraine, honestly.
Even just as a value card, it can be very strong in Lorraine. Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Up next, we have Second Wind for Wind. Haha, and it was second. 3-cost warrior spell, wake up target ally, class bonus. That ally gets +1 until end of turn. So this one, that seems like a pretty good effect, right?
It's an okay effect. Usually you don't want to try and stack too many things on one ally. I feel like most of the game is centered around the champions and like being able to hit for big with your champion, like a big rending with your Lorraine or something like that. But looking at Second Wind, at first glance, it's kind of like, I can hit for an extra like 2-3 damage. Yep. Like, where's the value in that?
So there's a little bit of hidden utility in this, and that is in the class bonus. So the ally getting the +1 and waking up can be done at fast, because this is a fast card, which means you can do shenanigans like swing into something, and then in response to your own swing, now that you've tapped to pay the cost, or rested to pay the cost, you can go ahead and get that extra attack to that current swing. So something like an Aeson, whereas you would look at this card and go, oh, well, it hits for 3 and then for 4. No, it could really hit for 4 and then 4.
And then on top of that, whenever you're stacking other things on top of it, maybe like an Inspiring Call, or if you're using...
Ornamental Greatsword's a great one. The same turn you go up to get your class bonus, that could be 4 extra damage total.
Or maybe even Poison Coating Oil on top of like a Dream Fairy or something like that.
Yeah, Poison Coating Oil is also hovering around 4%, and I think between Dream Fairy and this card, that's...
Yeah.
Stocks are going up, that's all I'm saying.
You can definitely start seeing some more play of those certain cards in combination. But second one can definitely see a little bit more play, especially if we start seeing some more anthems, or maybe if we see more stacking on one ally specifically.
Yeah, seeing things like Frostbinder Apostle?
Right.
Yeah, it will take out something as soon as it comes in. If it's tapped, you can rested. If you go ahead and wake up your ally, then they can't really do anything with that. It's a dead card.
They have to combo on top of that with like a Glacial Guidance or something, which feels like overcommitting, but you never know.
Yeah, we take every bit of advantage we can.
Another thing to mention about Second Wind is you can also use this as a defensive play. They go, oh, I'm going to take out your ASIN. You go, well, actually, I'm going to wake it up and give it +1. It retaliates for 4 on top of that now.
Yep.
So it can definitely be a little tricky, but it can be powerful.
Especially late game into Merlin, where they're pulling out things like Ghost of Pendragon that you don't want to have up on your turn, really want to remove from the board. It's a way to do it.
That's right.
All right. What do we have over on your side?
We got fire over here, and we got a fun one. We got one called Korhazi Arsonist. This one has not seen as much play right now, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm very personally invested in this card.
This is a 3-cost 2/2 ally assassin human. It has the clause of remove a preparation counter from your champion, and it gains stealth until end of turn.
That's pretty decent.
That seems okay. I think the power comes in the second ability, which is if a unit hit by Korhazi Arsonist this turn would die, banish it instead. That is very powerful effect.
Oh, but surely it takes a prep counter, right?
No.
Oh, but surely it's class bonus, right?
No, it's not. It's just a fire card that says banish things from the field if you kill it this turn with Arsonist touching it. Not Arsonist being the one that killed it. As long as you swing in, deal a little bit of damage into any ally, if that ally dies later that turn or on the hit, then it's now banished instead.
Oh, so but if it dies, it'll still get its on death trigger, right?
No, because it says instead banish it. It doesn't die anymore. So things like Library Witch that would draw a card, or Magus Disciple that would draw a card, they no longer draw the card. Things like Young Beastbonder or Bedivere, things that have a death trigger that say give buff counters.
Yep.
That would no longer trigger. Now there is things like on leave triggers like Green Slime.
Yep.
Those would still happen because it is leaving the field.
But no one's playing Green Slime, so you're fine.
Right. But another very important thing for Korhazi Arsonist's ability is it gets rid of floating memory.
Yeah.
Being able to swing into, say, like a Flame Rune Swordsman and trade, but that Flame Rune Swordsman doesn't go to the graveyard. Now it's a 1-for-1 instead of that possibility.
Fire really likes 1-for-1s too.
Right, exactly. Also, like Stalwart Shieldmate is very big in the meta right now. Yep. Stalwart's sitting at 36% play rate right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to rattle off some percentages for you. Korhazi Arsonist is only chilling at 2.2% representation. Right. Stalwart Shieldmate, 35.9. Library Witch, 16.9. Young Beastbonder, 15.8. Swift Recruit, 22.6. Flame Rune, 20.7. This card answers all of those. This is a great card. Please play it. Also, Raccoon's over 20%, so everyone saw the value there, but the value is here.
Instead of having to wait for them to get the floating, and then hopefully you just take the precedent and you say, I'm going to kill your thing. And if they Fav wins, or they say, I'm going to keep it alive, you go, well, I'll just put an extra damage into it later. It still dies. It still gets banished instead.
Yep. So Fav wins, like you said, combat trick's not going to be nearly as effective.
So I see this being played a lot more in like lower end Lorraine decks or Xander decks.
Yep.
Obviously, trying to fight eating the memory with Merlin is not going to be as good, but there's also a lot of the points in which you are getting to the late game, and they've been holding on to their floating memory, waiting for you to go to 3 as Merlin, and then they're like, "Oh, now I can start rattling off my floating." Well, now you can start chipping away at it too, even when you're past 3. So if there's a longer, grindier Fire Merlin deck that goes on that there's chances. So.
Korhazi is definitely a favorite of mine. You should look into it.
What's next over there?
All right, we have 2 more here. The first is Beastpawn Pause for Norm. So you might be thinking, Beastpawn Pause? I'm not a Sylvie player. Why would I play that? So the thing is, Beastpawn Pause is kind of like a budget Eye of Argus in that it is 0 cost. There is no class bonus attached to it. And you can give a target animal or beast +1, as well as True Sight until end of turn. The implication of that is if we're seeing a lot more of these ally-based decks, I know a lot of you are playing squirrels. I've seen the numbers. Too many people are playing squirrels, but squirrel's good. This lets squirrels kill fairy. which is pretty ridiculous.
Which we've seen, especially in Ascent, there was a lot of the Eye of Argus play on top of my stealth unit to kill your stealth unit or something like that. This is kind of, if you're already playing animals, which some people are, like you said, even not in Sylvie decks, you can just play this instead of going down the card in the memory. You get to just play it for free, give it the True Sight, give it the +1, and be able to swing in.
Yep. Same goes for Raccoon as well. If you have Raccoon in your deck, you have Beast Spawn Paws.
That's right.
Another way to kill Fairy.
And also, there's nothing to say you can't play both. Right?
True.
You can play Eye of Argus and you can play Paws.
I am in fact playing both.
Exactly. So you have Eye of Argus for whenever you don't have your animal out and you can still hit later and you draw your card. Or you can just say, oh, I have my squirrels, I have my raccoon. You just go Beast Spawn Paws, swing into your thing, and now it's dead because True Sight's pretty strong, as we've talked about this episode.
Yeah. Stealth and True Sight have come up quite a bit. All right. And then there is Beast Spawn Paws, 5%.
5% play rate. Now,
you gotta up those numbers.
I would say it's a little different comparing like an element because, elements...
Material deck gets a lot more play percent because you have so much access.
But I mean, if you look at something like GCR, it's...
GCR is over 80%.
Yeah. So
should be 100. 2 out of 5 Grail. All right.
Yeah, we have... That's pretty much all the main cards that we're going to talk about. We do have one little bonus card that we wanted to mention real quick, so let's go over that.
The bonus card here is a Fractal of Insight. You've probably never heard of it. 2 cost, can on enter, rest it to Glimpse 2, and it's reservable. So this is 24.2% usage. Really good, very solid, definitely not underused. Stop using it wrong, please.
I mean, or stop using it because I mean it's a good card. It's not crazy, but the way people have been playing it it's not been good.
Yeah, so a lot of the value of this card, obviously it kind of pseudo cycles. You get it out of your hand, but then you have the reservable, so you didn't really lose the ability to play cards. The problem is I've been seeing a lot of people just kind of put it down and then use it to tap to play something else on the turn, and you could have just played another card down to do that, right?
Right.
Like if you're losing on the Glimpse, there wasn't a lot of reason to do that unless, you're going for a low influence deck, which please send us that. I would love to see that.
Like Illuminate Secrets or something like that. Which that's
if you
fine.
have your Illuminate Secrets Xander and you're playing it for that, like more power to you, but you still could Glimpse. Get the Glimpse. It's good.
Glimpse is powerful, as we've seen before. So
but yeah, that's your PSA.
All right, I think that's going to do for us today. A little bit of a shorter episode, but...
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have something a little different next time. I think we have some spoilers.
We'll see.
Potentially. Okay, well...
All right. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a great day.
See you in the next one. Hopefully we'll have the next one sooner.